what do I know about anything? And the answer is nothing. I don't even know why I'm on this program most of the time, and probably most of the viewers too. But here's somebody who does. Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Banríon Capital Management Chief Investment Strategist, Victoria Bills. Welcome, Victoria.
Good morning, Lawrence. I appreciated your comments earlier about ARK, or essentially, despite what some people may have about essentially ARK in general, I think there is kind of some opportunity or some great news that this could bring some great news into spot ETH and to further liquidity into the market in spot ETH, despite what our feelings may be about ARK and that fund in general.
Are you? Yeah, I mean, are you just saying it's all hype? No, I just said that. Sorry. That's sorry. I didn't mean to. By the way, ARK, if you're watching, please continue advertising if you haven't already. I'm not going to say no to advertising dollars. But I kind of want to talk about some of those issues of you mentioned liquidity, because if you look at the spot markets, it's been some of the lowest volumes that we've seen in years, in nearly half a decade. Some of that seems, I would guess, maybe I'm wrong, but most likely I am. But I would guess that a lot of it is we lost FTX in the marketplace, which offered a lot of leverage in the futures marketplace, right, in perpetual futures. But it seems to have had this sort of impact in the spot markets. But is there more to that story than just the loss of a leveraged player, a major leveraged player in the market already now almost, several months, like a year we're going in here? Is there something going on in the marketplace, institutionally, retail-wise, that is getting people to say, you know what, I just don't want to trade crypto? Because, we talk about ARK just now, we talk about all this stuff, institutional interest in crypto seems to at least publicly be interested, but volumes aren't there. What's going on?
Well, I think you touched on a couple of different levers that are causing essentially spot market prices to be at, again, like half a decade lows. Part of that is kind of consumer sentiment around crypto and around crypto in general. What we're seeing with the fall of Binance, there is a lot of general market speculation around if market makers can actually continue to also basically run their own ETFs. And with also continued tension that's on Binance with the SEC, that also has caused a lot of, even though they themselves are currently, they have like the highest trading volume, I believe, at the moment, but they are still like showing like all-time lows. And with the SEC kind of cracking down on a lot of, again, these derivative market makers, spot market makers, it is causing a lot of tension, speculation into the markets on the consumer side. For the institutional investors, I think, again, people who have been strong on Bitcoin, strong on ETH, are continuing to kind of hold the line, no pun intended, but there is also, again, when you talk about the general lay consumer, there is a lot of tension, concerns because of, again, what we're seeing with like general like stress in the markets and how people are viewing crypto in general after Binance and after FTX.
Victoria, maybe you have an answer for me. When these spot Bitcoin ETFs were filed, we saw the price pump, albeit Bitcoin has lost all of its gains now. We then had the Ether futures ETF application, now the Ether spot ETF application. Why are the Ether markets not really reacting to this? Why is it not really comparing to what we saw with Bitcoin?
Well, I think it's going to, again, like the pop that we're seeing is the general excitement about what is to come or how that is going to potentially play out in the future. But I think, again, what we can expect is with the spot ETF and with the spot Ether ETF coming into the market, potentially, if the SEC approves it, again, this will allow for a lot more. This will allow for further liquidity for the individual investor. It also helps to provide a little bit more of a regulatory framework for how essentially the SEC can continue to view ETH. Again, previous SECs have kind of labeled them as a commodity, it kind of seems like the SEC is leaning towards wanting to look at these as securities. Now, how that is going to play out in the long run, or how the SEC is going to start looking at Ether, Bitcoin, and essentially as they're going through the process of trying to define these in the next coming years, I would say, or in the year in general, it's going to, I think that's where we will see like the market starting to kind of volume coming back into the market once things start to settle more.
Have the Canadians, and I'm not just bringing this up because Jen is in Ontario, but have the Canadians shown that there's no real interest in ETFs, in crypto ETFs, or at least that the interest in crypto ETFs are probably not as significant to the market as maybe a lot of the talking heads on particularly crypto media have been making it out to be, because of it just doesn't seem like people who had the opportunity to invest in those ETFs in Canada, at least, have really jumped onto it.
Well, and I think, again, when you're talking about how to utilize crypto, if you are just speaking from the perspective of from someone who is a non-crypto person, for example, or if you're talking about diversification in like an investment portfolio, crypto, Bitcoin, Ether in general, they kind of essentially move very opposite to the traditional stock market. And so if I'm looking to, for example, hedge against the US market, or if I'm looking to hedge against stocks, then that's where you kind of, or like if, again, when you see volatility in the US stock market, that's where I think people start to pour more into those alternative assets. For example, spot pricing with ETH spot or Bitcoin. So, but as again, markets are kind of like very steady in the United States, and again, also Canada has kind of, I'm not quite certain about like the Canadian economic market overall, but like in the US at least, no worries. Sorry, Canadian. But I would say in general, like when you are looking at how to utilize crypto, a lot of the general consumers are looking at it as a hedge against US markets or US stock markets. So markets are doing well. So therefore we might be honestly seeing volatility coming down because of that.
And one last thing, hate to ask this, but of course, what's your at least near-term outlook here on Bitcoin, particularly? And then you'll have to answer quickly because it seems like your cat wants to get out.
Oh no!
Yeah, your cat's been like wandering the back, like what am I doing here? Although I don't know.
Once again, he's always the little troublemaker on this show, but. I would like quick 2 cents on it. I remain very positive on crypto overall. I remain very positive about what Kathy's doing with creating a spot Ether ETF. It'll be one of the first in the United States. And honestly, I think that we will, if approved, we'll probably see a bump in volume and bump in kind of like trade activity for that, again, for the general consumers.
All right, Victoria, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I hope you can tend to that kitty that's been vying for your attention.
Definitely will give him some hugs and scratches after this. Thanks so much again.
He's like hanging out in the back, like, "Hey, I'm here."
I mean, he's a fan of crypto himself. So
it's orange, Yeah.
Little Doge kitty.
Love that.
Doge
we got a Doge kitty. All right. That was Banríon Capital Management Chief Investment Strategist, Victoria Bills.